60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Right-thinking Nigerians know that this administration is working for them. There's no way you can fast forward what is going to happen. People need to understand that the government is working for them, the government is sincere, and Nigeria will get to where she will get to. But patience is needed.
Hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. And so it's time again for our quarterly look at activities in Nigeria's presidency. The President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity is here today to give us our regular update. So join me after the break as I count down 60 minutes with Femi ADESHINA. Welcome back. Welcome, Mr. ADESHINA. Thank you for coming again on our program.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Right. On Monday, 9th of January 2015, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari fired the Executive Secretary of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, Jim Obaze, and also suspended the Council's Corporate Governance Code, which took effect on the 17th day of October 2016, and it was issued in accordance with Section 50 of the Financial Reporting Council Act of 2011, which requires the Directorate of Corporate Governance to develop the principles and practice of corporate governance applicable in Nigeria. That code went further to impose tenure limits and age limits on all those administering these organizations. The code stipulates, for example, a 20-year term or 70-year age limit for heads of not-for-profit organizations such as churches and mosques. Jim Obaze, the Executive Secretary, had relied on that act to insist that all not-for-profit organizations, including religious groups, which are all registered under the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA, obey all rules of the regular market. So, Mr. ADESHINA, why did the president sack a man for doing his job?
Well, you need to know a bit of the background. That code predated this administration.
Right.
It was under President Goodluck Jonathan that the work started. But somehow, the administration didn't implement it. The Executive Secretary reports to a Minister of Trade, Investment and Industry. And when he wrote the Minister that he wanted a code to come into effect, the Minister said, hold on, until some gray areas are ironed out.
Yes.
Do you know that even that code has provisions that are contrary to the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA?
Okay, it's in conflict with CAMA.
Yes, it's in conflict. There are some areas that are in conflict with CAMA. So there are things to sort out in that code. And the minister said, hold on. I think it was up to 2 times that the minister told him to hold on. The next thing that we will hear was that he summoned chief executives of courier companies sometime around the Christmas season, hosted them to dinner and told them the code had gone into effect. That was pure disobedience to constituted authority.
Yes.
And that was why he was removed from office.
Not because of the backlash, because the president is hoping for votes of Christians in 2019. You know, a lot of people interpreted the resignation of the leader of the Redeemed Christian Church of God as President Buhari targeting Christians.
No, it couldn't have been. President Buhari would not target anybody because of his or her religion. It was a purely disciplinary matter of somebody disobeying his superior.
I was speaking with Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, and he said to me, because the governance code is part of the law, the minister cannot give a directive stopping the executive secretary from carrying out duties that are legally given to him under the law.
He didn't quite stop him. He said, hold on.
Right.
Till
everything is ironed out.
Okay.
It's not that they're suspending the code indefinitely. Because 89 groups have already complied with that.
Yes. So it was a matter of just saying, hold on till we iron out some things, and then you go ahead to implement it in defiance of authority.
Today is the 4th of February.
Yes.
By the 10th of February, the 3-month tenure of the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoge, will end, except, of course, the National Assembly, the Senate, confirms him as the substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria. Is the President planning in the next 6 days to send his name to the Senate? If not, why hasn't he done so? There is a certain uncertainty about having a Chief Justice of Nigeria who is acting.
Well, that uncertainty is conjectured, is unnecessarily whipped up by people who have made it an issue when it should not be an issue. Even the Chief Justice himself, acting Chief Justice, has said, don't do this because of me. He has told the public, don't put the president under pressure because of me. And they carry on as if that is the first Chief Justice of Nigeria that will come in acting capacity. It's not true. Idris Lebo Kutigi came as an acting Chief Justice before he was confirmed.
Yes.
And what the law says is that a Chief Justice can act for 3 months. As we speak now, it's about 6 days to that 3 months. So there's no need for the hysteria that we have seen about this appointment.
It is on the president's agenda?
It has to be. It has to be because it's an issue of public importance.
You know that he is supposedly the most senior justice. And Section 231 of our Constitution provides, and tradition also shows, that it's always the most senior justice that is appointed, making many to think that perhaps the president is holding out for these 3 months to run out and he can appoint a northern Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Nigeria is never wanting in conspiracy theories, and that is part of the bane of our existence as a people. People always will whip up different kind of sentiments, will always cook up all sorts of conspiracies. I'm sure that what you have just said is far from the president's mind. What the president is out for is just to get the best person to be in any position at any given time.
Is the delay occasioned by the investigations we've seen going into the affairs of judges of the courts, and we've seen the EFCC raids and all that?
I won't say specifically, but you also know that things are happening in the judiciary. And if you are going to have the cleanup that everybody envisages in the judiciary and that the country desires, whoever is the Chief Justice of the Federation must be the right person, must be the round peg in the round hole. So it could be why the president first said put him in acting capacity. But it does not mean anything. The period of acting has not expired. And I believe that whatever will happen after that period will be in the best interest of the country.
In October last year, that's 2016, the National Judicial Commission also recommended Justice Onogen as the likely successor to Mahmoud Mohammed, who had achieved the age of 70 years. Is there any specific reason why the president has not acted on this recommendation?
Well, the president has a part to play, and that's what we are waiting for him to play. Nobody can discount the part and the role the president has to play in that appointment.
Yes.
So that's what the country is waiting for.
The Trump inauguration, we didn't see President Buhari there. Is he not, friendly with the Republican Party?
I am sure that if you cast your mind back to previous inaugurations,
Yes.
Obama, Bush before him, the Clinton, Senior Bush,
Yes.
Reagan, as far back as we can remember, did we see foreign presidents there? Sitting foreign presidents are never invited to the inauguration of the American president. The people that are invited are the head of missions.
Right.
The sitting presidents are never invited.
So were you surprised when Nigerians were raising the issue?
It was ignorance, I just laughed. It was ignorance.
When you say head of missions, that's
Yes.
the ambassador.
Ambassadors, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Our ambassador to the US would be invited.
Exactly. That's what they do. They don't invite sitting presidents. If they want to invite sitting presidents to the inauguration, how many will they really invite? Will the arena contain everybody?
With security concerns?
Yes, and who will you invite? Who will you not invite? So that's the issue.
I read you recently, you said the recession was almost in Nigeria before President Buhari's government came up. But many people would say, look, the poor have always been in recession. The fact that the government is saying it officially now, that there is a recession, it doesn't mean anything to the average poor man. It is only because perhaps the elite are feeling the heat now that we're saying we're in recession. What are the plans going forward? President Buhari has talked about diversifying this economy. We've seen now the downfall of that with the fall in oil prices. Where are we with this diversification?
Yeah, talking of the poor, even the Holy Bible says it, that the poor you will always have with you. Now, my interpretation of that is that at any given time in any society, you will have poor people. It doesn't mean the same person will remain poor,
right,
because situation and circumstances do change. The poor can become rich. But at any given time, you will have somebody who is poor. So that is just to explain what you said, that the poor had always been in recession.
Yes.
Yeah, the poor will always be in the land at any given time. And that is why it's the responsibility of government at any given time to ensure that the interests of the poor are taken into consideration. Now, talking of diversification, Nigeria will be 57 later this year.
Yes, yeah.
It has taken 57 years, or if we remove the almost 2 years of the Buhari administration, it has taken about 55 years to get to a point of resolution that we will diversify our economy, and that we must diversify our economy.
Yes.
So if it took us 55 years to get to that point of resolution, what there is?
I'm in a hurry.
Why do you want the result in 20 months? No, it won't happen in 20 months. Because diversification has a gestation period, and you must necessarily pass through that gestation period. For instance, what are the things that the government is looking for?
What areas are they looking at?
Two major ones. There are some others, but the two major ones: agric, solid minerals. Now, agric, the minimum time you need for agric to make an impact is 3 planting seasons. 3 planting seasons.
Where one planting season is how many?
Oh, it depends on the rainy season. Geography told us that rainy season was May to October.
Yes.
It used to be so, but we know that nature does not seem to obey geography again. But we are glad and thankful to God that 2016, the rains were very good.
Yes.
And agric did well. But that is just 1 planting season. In some areas, you can have 2 planting seasons.
That are good.
Yes. Maybe they have irrigation and all that for dry season farming.
Yes.
Okay. But the change that you seek through agriculture cannot come before about 3 planting seasons. So agric will happen. In fact, the projection is that by 2018,
Yes.
Nigeria will not import any form of grains again.
Rice,
Maize, beans, millet, sorghum, and all that.
Yes.
Because we import all those things. Very, very surprising. Over $2 billion is spent yearly importing rice. But by 2018, Nigeria is going to be self-sufficient in rice and in other grains. And if you check from 2015 that the administration came to 2018 that is projected,
Yes.
that's 3 years. So it will come. There's no way to shorten it. If it could be shortened, of course, government will want to shorten it.
Yeah.
And then look at solid minerals. A roadmap has been released by the minister, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, and the gestation period is between 20 and 25 years. That means even in the life of this administration,
we can't see
we will
anything.
not reap it fully. There are some low-hanging fruits there that we will get.
Yes.
But in terms of getting into the boom
Yes.
of solid minerals, it will come in future. But at least it will be on record that it was the Buhari administration that began
That
it.
initiated
Yes,
these things.
yes.
All right.
So Nigerian economy will be diversified, but don't forget that it took over 50 years to turn the country into a mono economy. Therefore, nobody should expect that diversification in 20 months that this administration has spent in office.
Join us again after the break. So what is 60 Minutes with Angela all about? It's not an interview. I like to think it's a conversation between two people making the news, people who are in the news, and those who become the news. And the whole idea is to inform, to educate, or to clarify, as the case may be. It is an art getting people to answer the questions that everyone is thinking in their minds. And that's what we try to do on 60 Minutes with Angela. I ask all the questions that everyone's thinking about and no one wants to voice. All the questions you always wanted to ask. You get those answers on 60 Minutes with Angela. Every week on this station, 60 Minutes with Angela, getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask. Welcome back. If you've just joined me, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. On my hot seat today, Femi ADESHINA is the special advisor to Nigeria's President Buhari on media and publicity. Let's talk about the president's vacationing now. February 5 to February 10, 2016, he was in London for 6 days. June 6 to June 16 or 17, 2016 as well, he was in London for 10 days. And recently, I think he left January 27th. 19th.
Okay.
He was again in London for another 10 days. Third vacation in under 1 year.
Amounting to how many days in all?
10, 10, 6, 26.
And in 1 year is, you can have how many days? 30 days.
Yes.
So those three still don't amount to the vacation he's entitled to for 1 year. And then don't forget that each time he is leaving, we also issue statements that he's going on vacation and he will do routine medical checkups.
Yes.
Our president is 74 and strong for that age. Medical people say once you cross 40, you need to do your checks at least once a year.
Yes.
At least once a year. So there's nothing wrong in the president going on vacation and doing routine medical checkups. When he was leaving on January 19, he told the press that I'm going on vacation. About this time last year, I also went. So there's nothing wrong in it.
Yes.
And truly, I don't see anything wrong.
He seems to like London though.
Yes, because that's where his doctors are. And he had been using those same doctors before he became president.
These days, your medical records can be transferred from one doctor to the other.
It sure can. Well, of course, when people have to be evacuated
Yes.
from one country to the other, their medical records are also sent. Can be transferred. But then, if you also have the opportunity to remain with those same medical doctors, why do you need to transfer the history?
The thing is, we're trying to promote Nigeria, made in Nigeria, by Nigerian, patronize Nigerian, promote Nigerian. The president should show that example by using our hospitals and our doctors here. If the president is seen not to trust our medical and health care here, who am I to trust a Nigerian doctor?
But that's not quite right. You mentioned that he went out in June 2016. When he went out in June 2016, it was because he had some hearing infection.
Yes.
Do you know that that was handled by Nigerian physicians? It was handled by Nigerian doctors. And in the statement we issued when he was traveling,
Yes.
we said he had that hearing infection, which had been treated by medical doctors. But now that he's going on holidays, he will use the opportunity to have a second opinion. It was clear.
Okay, so his first choice is still here.
Oh, yes.
And you know, people are also referring to the huge budget they say is allocated every year to the medical center in Asoro.
What they don't know is that budget in the first place is a statement of intent. It does not mean it gets released.
Okay.
Those who are making heavy weather
Yes.
of that budget should have gone forward to find out
If it was actually
if
released.
it was actually released. Nigerian budget last year, 2016, performed to 45%. That means so many things in that budget were not done. Were not done. So the onus is on those who make all these claims to go a step further to check whether it was released.
Isn't that a minus for the president that the budget performed 45%?
It's not within the powers of the president. You know what happened last year?
Yes.
First, there was the pardon scandal, which delayed the budget. The budget was not signed until May 5
Yes.
of last year. Then, about 2 weeks after it was signed, the Niger Delta erupted and there was sabotage everywhere.
Yes.
The budget was based on oil output of 2.2 million barrels per day. And that eruption in Niger Delta reduced our production to as low as 1 million barrels per day. There was a time it dropped even to 900,000
From 2.2
from
million.
2.2 million. So what it meant was that you could not earn what you projected to have earned. Coupled with the fact that oil prices were even down
Yes.
in the international market. So oil prices were down internationally and Nigeria could not even then meet her quota. So how will the budget perform? It couldn't have. The best that budget did was 45%.
You've talked about the Niger Delta now. We saw the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, Professor of Law, visit the Niger Delta. What was the aim of that visit? You know, what is the President's plan regarding the Niger Delta? All the things that we thought would be done, you know, in a report by the Niger Delta Technical Committee way back, I think 2010, 2011, none of those things have been done. Attention hasn't been paid to infrastructure. We all seem to be focused on amnesty, the amnesty program. What is President Buhari's vision for the Niger Delta?
You know you won't be able to hold the president responsible for what was done 2010, 2011,
Yes.
up to 2015 when he got into office. And you also know about that by the peculiarity of the leadership of the country at that time.
Yes.
The leader came from that region and a lot should have been done for that region that was not done.
By him.
By him that was not done. And the amnesty program that you spoke about, you know it was to terminate in 2015 December. And you know the president is still keeping it going now. This year, the 2017 budget that is here to be passed, I think there's about 60 billion. Or thereabouts.
So the
in that.
students are going to get their fees.
They will get, because there's about a provision of 60 billion in the budget for amnesty. Now, what is the plan of the president for the Niger Delta region? On Christmas Day, 2016, the president received some visitors who had come to pay Christmas homage to him, and the issue of Niger Delta came up. And the president was virtually appealing to that region, the restive elements in the region, to please cooperate with the country. In other words, the president would rather dialogue than fight. Don't forget this is government.
Yes.
And government has capacity to do many things. Many options will be on the table at any given time
Yes.
for government. But president has said, let's not fight, let's talk, let's discuss so that we can have peace. And part of that initiative is the visit of the vice president to the region that you saw, and many more will still come. That eventually will culminate in
coming to the table.
Yes, coming to the table. Don't forget, sometime in October or November, leaders of that region came to the villa to visit the president. They brought a 17-point demand, which the president accepted and said will be looked into. And then what happened the next day after they left? Bombing.
Yes.
So that shows you that you didn't have
the full support.
The full support yet. So all stakeholders in that region needed to be brought under one umbrella, and the dialogue can then succeed.
Yeah.
I think things are getting better there, and we will get there eventually.
Just as an aside, is the president sick? Is he nursing any nagging ailment that Nigerians should know about? You know, they're very worried, especially after the experience with the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua.
Yeah, what I like to say is that at 74, the president is not a young man. We need to bear that in mind.
Right.
There is a difference between ill and sick. Anybody can be sick, even people who are not 74.
Yes.
Even a month-old child can fall sick. People who are 10, 15, 20 can be sick. Ill is usually used in a prolonged case,
yes,
and particularly if it's terminal. Is the president ill? Not to my knowledge. Can the president fall sick? Yes, he can, because he's human.
Is he nursing a terminal disease?
Not to my knowledge.
Because you know that is the thing that nags.
Yeah, and I think what fuels that nagging,
yes,
almost to the point of harassment.
Yes.
Because Nigerians are actually harassing the president. No, not Nigerians, some Nigerians. Mischievous, malicious, malevolent Nigerians are like harassing the president about his health. That is uncalled for. It should not happen. But I also understand why they do what they do. They have passed through
We've seen it
routes before.
Yes.
But then this is a government that tells the truth to Nigerians. So Nigerians have been lied to so much, so badly, that they find it difficult to accept the truth again. When you tell them the truth, no, they must go and investigate whether it's true or not.
They must be cynical.
They must be
Was
cynical.
he on admission at any time? Did he spend the night in hospital? They were observing him?
Not an hour, not to talk of a night. To the best of my knowledge, the president never checked into any hospital.
How does he react to rumors about his death?
The president...
I know he has a high sense of humor. I'm just wondering, when he opens the papers in the morning, or you tell him your brief for the day.
Yes. Then let me tell you, the last time he went out, that must have been June 2016. When it was the day to return, he told people around him, let's leave early so that we get to Nigeria in daytime. If we get in when it's night, some people will start saying it was an ambulance that brought me. So that is the way he reacts to things like that. The president is a very religious person. And it is said that a leaf cannot fall from a tree unless God has permitted that leaf to fall.
Yes.
So that is the president for you. He believes in the ultimate power of God. God is the one that has the final say on life and death. And if anything happens to anybody, I don't see why anybody should rejoice. You know that during the election period last year, there was one, I don't know whether she was a young lady or a woman, that was particularly vociferous on social media against the president, saying he was unhealthy, he was liable to die any moment. Do you know as we speak that woman is dead? When she died, I saw some people celebrating on social media. No, I wouldn't celebrate over that.
Yes.
It just reinforces my conviction that everything about life and death is under the control of God. Yes. So anybody who is rejoicing and spreading malicious rumors about the health of the president should be mindful of the fact that God is the one who decides ultimately who lives or who dies.
You've also said that the president doesn't need to speak on everything.
Sure.
But can exceptions not be made?
The exceptions are made.
Even one death happens,
Yes.
the situation in Southern Kaduna, I know that we are a federation. I know that Kaduna has a governor. I know he's on top of the situation.
Yeah.
But, you know, when Nigerian lives are lost, the average Nigerian who is not lettered does not understand this federalism thing. When there's any problem in the country, they look to the president. You know, some people believe that the president is like the principal of the secondary school and the governors are the teachers. They think the president can order or sack.
Well, we know that that is not quite right.
Yes.
It's not correct. So we must learn to do the right things as Nigerians. The president doesn't have to speak about everything, I maintain. What some Nigerians want is to willy-nilly force our president to adopt a template that they see in some foreign countries. No.
Okay. What kind of template are you talking?
Where when anything happens, particularly in America,
Okay,
Obama flies
Obama
there,
comes in
he
and,
comes in, he speaks,
briefs the press.
briefs and all that. No, that template may be okay for America. It
May be okay for Obama.
for Obama, how are you sure that even Trump will adopt that same template? So they wanting to force the president to adopt that template is not proper. The president can speak on certain things. He may not speak on some others. Let me give an example. In the Niger Delta insurgency, we have lost senior officers. I remember one colonel who was burnt alive in his armored tank, full colonel. Many other officers of that senior rank have also died. But remember what happened? Was it Lieutenant Colonel Abu Ali?
Yes.
When he died, because of the role he had played in the entire battle and how he has been seen as the authentic hero.
Yes.
You know, the president spoke about that and commiserated with his family.
Yes.
He sent a delegation to the burial led by his chief of staff. Do you know, after Lieutenant Colonel Abu Ali, a number of lieutenant colonels have been killed? A number.
Yes.
Now, if the president now speaks about every officer that dies, how do you think it will be? What role then does the defense headquarters play? What role does the military play? What role does the chief of army staff play?
And they represent him. He's the commander.
Exactly, he's the commander in chief. They represent him. So when anything happens in the country, it's either the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, speaks, or I speak as Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, or Malam Garba Shehu speaks as Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, or heads of relevant agencies speak on those matters. Then why must we then compel the president to come and speak? And this is a man of few words. Once he has told you, speak.
Yes.
Then he thinks the matter is done. When he was leaving Nigeria on January 19, of course it was communicated to me that the president was traveling. I issued a statement. But when we got to the airport, I whispered to him, Mr. President, I would like you to talk to television before you board your plane. He said, why? Haven't you issued a statement? I said, I've issued. He said, then why should I speak again? That's him. It was when I stood my ground, I said, however short, please speak.
Just say something.
Just say something. That was when he now said what he said. But that is him. Having authorized the statement, he believed that was enough. And truly, it is enough. But you know, some Nigerians, no, it's never enough for them. But the president is still the president, and he has rights. I asked one lawyer, I said, being the president, has he lost all his rights? The lawyer said, no, he has his rights to speak or not to speak when he wants. Because even in his holiday in London, there was that vociferous call that he must speak to us, to address the nation. A man is on holiday, and you say he must address the nation when he has transmitted authority to an acting president. Then he must come and speak and address the nation again. Then why do we have an acting president?
And that brings me to the matter of the acting president, because there are a lot of rumors around the time the president left and transmitted to the vice president. People were insinuating that power was going to change hands, and the vice president or acting president was under siege. He had been handcuffed and a gun held to his head to sign off.
I'm glad you used the word rumor. Yes. And once it is rumor, it is rumor. No substance. There was absolutely no substance to it. But you know what those people are probably reacting to.
Yes.
They remember President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who left the country, did not transmit a letter to the National Assembly, did not hand over to his deputy,
Yes.
and there was like a state of flux.
Yes.
But then that is not the situation now. The president did what he should do.
Yes.
So all that hoopla was not necessary.
And it was strange as well. We're not used to presidents handing over for a 10-day vacation. Sometimes they prefer to deal, in case of governors, they'd rather deal with the speaker, rather than hand over to their deputies.
I know
So
it happens in some
I think
states.
maybe Nigerians were also reacting to that.
But Nigerians must learn to accept that this president will do things properly. They must learn to accept that.
Join us again after the break.
Nice question.
Angela, that's a great question.
It's a good question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
That is a serious question. Angela, that is a very great question.
Great question, Angela.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Angela, that's a tough one for me.
That's a good question. Good question.
I love to ask questions. I think it's what I do best. You see, I think that the fastest way to learn anything is to ask questions. The right questions. Questions that help you get to the heart of the matter.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Femi Adesina, the Special Advisor to Nigeria's President Buhari on media and publicity. And the protests, planned protests by Nigerian entertainer Innocent Dibia, also known as Two-Face. You know, Nigerian courts have decided that we don't need permits to protest. If this protest doesn't go on, it will only fuel the perception by Buhari's critics.
What can stop it?
Well, the police was talking tough the other day.
No. I think the position of the law is that you can protest.
Right.
And in a democracy, protests are legitimate.
So the president is not against protest?
No, the president would not be against protest. But then the law enforcement agents have responsibility.
Right.
And they must fulfill their responsibilities.
Which is?
Which is to keep the law and order, ensure that law and order is maintained. The protesters also must behave responsibly.
They have duties.
Yes, they have duties to ensure that while protesting, law and order does not break down. So they can protest, but the law agencies can also ensure that while the protest holds, law and order does not break down.
Because protest doesn't mean misbehave.
No, it doesn't mean, but it is liable to being hijacked at any given time. Don't forget the one that was done before 2015 elections
Yes.
in Lagos here. You
Yes.
know how Lagos was grounded. There was absolute chaos. I think some element of the OPC was part of it, and you know how they became wild and began to attack motorists and all that. So protests are liable to being hijacked at any given time. That is why the law enforcement agencies must also play their part.
Has the presidency reached out to Mr. Idibia, regarding his grounds for leading this protest?
dash or what our commonwealth.
But it's our culture. If I come to greet the president, isn't he going to dash me something?
If
transport?
if he has, he will give you, but he will not give you from the public treasury. The president would rather give you private money. Now, let me tell you something. Was it a Salah homage or
Yes.
something? People came to visit the president at the villa, and usually when they are leaving, the
Yes.
president stays on what we call the red carpet, which leads to the exit, and he shakes them one by one.
Yes.
After the adults had left, it was time for the children to leave. And as the president was shaking them, he dipped his hand in his pocket and he brought out some 500 naira notes.
Yes.
And he began to give those children one by
one.
one. But you know that a former administration will just wait.